Hey, good morning, everyone. I feel like I haven't seen you for a long time. So happy Tuesday. I hope that you had a wonderful Labor Day weekend. You know, oddly enough, in Alaska, it's been so hot this summer. We've had so many fires that normally I would want Labor Day to be like this warm, beautiful day. And this year we got rain at the end, and I was doing my happy dance and just so grateful that we got a bunch of rain last night to try and help the firefighters here in Alaska fight the fires. Talk about hot, this lady. I'm so excited to have Carrie Gunderson with me today. Hey, there's Josh Gray. Hey, Josh, good to see you. Thanks for joining us. So Carrie is one of our speakers at the Women's Chiropractic Leadership Summit, October the 26th at Life University. And I asked Carrie to join us because she has a completely different perspective than most of us that are just in the daily grind of practice every day. As well, Carrie has been on an amazing journey for her family. And on that journey, has learned lots of things herself. And so it was really fun. Last week, we got to have a powwow and practicing for this and got to know each other even better. And I'm so excited for all of you to get to know this lady because she is like just so deep and so rich in her love for humanity and her quest for seeking out truth and answers. And just embracing the diversity that exists within our world. So thank you so much for joining me, Carrie.
Yes, of course. I'm excited.
So let's first just start like right at the beginning of what has happened that has led you to having being able to go through fear and even the awareness of like I didn't even realize that it was holding me back. So take us on your journey.
Okay, so my journey kind of started when I delivered my first son, and things didn't go planned. Didn't go as planned, and I feel like that's where it all started. Like literally the day he was born, I was ready to be a mom. I was so prepared, and I had taught school, first grade. I was like, I've got this. I can handle 35 first graders. I can do one baby, like, you know, I had babysat my life away as a young kid. So I wasn't nervous or anything. And then all of a sudden from day one, basically, things didn't go like I wanted during the birthing process. And my son was not thriving when he was born. And being my timid self, I guess back then, I wasn't as assertive. I felt like the very first day he was born, I was this huge failure. Like I didn't poke and prod and say, what's going on? What's happening with my son? All those kinds of things. And I kind of sat back passively. And from the very beginning, I felt like, oh my gosh, I've already let my son down. And so starting that journey, and things just kind of escalated. The next couple of years went really smooth. And then we could really start to see some of the side effects of environmental toxicity and different things like that in him.
So let's dive into that. The idea of failure. Actually, I just had my call with Rich Christensen this morning. And we were talking about, and I don't know if Garrett's done the walk the line with.
I don't know. Honestly, I don't.
At the prison, and at any rate, you know, like the aftermath of feeling inadequate. Right. And having that be like almost like a fair life of feeling like I'm inadequate or feeling like I'm a failure. So in looking back now, how did that impact your mothering?
No, I think it impacted every single part of my life, not just with him, because I think the whole idea was like, I'm going to kill it. I'm going to be awesome at this. And all of a sudden you're like, wait a minute, like the first challenge that comes my way when it's so important, he's just this little helpless baby, like I failed. And I think it leached into every part of my life. It leached into my relationship with myself, with my friends, with my husband, with him, with my son. And I think the whole time you're just working so hard to try to overcome that feeling that you failed and prove to yourself that you're not a failure, that you end up living kind of distant from everybody else because you don't feel all of a sudden like you're good enough or like that you've done what you wanted to do. So for me, I ended up kind of pulling back and almost building like a shell around myself. And I think it impacted every single relationship I had. I think it really changed me. And in the beginning, not for the better, it just made me disconnect kind of.
So if someone is watching this and they're like, oh, I feel like a failure, and they don't even realize, because I think a lot of times in life we go through stuff and we don't realize, it's like putting on weight. Oh, it's 1 pound.
Yeah.
Oh, it's 2 pounds. And we don't realize it. And all of a sudden it's 20 pounds, right? Or just like this kind of thing where we pull back and we pull back. We pull back and we get used to that new norm. And then we pull back again and we get used to that new norm. Can you just share with individuals, like almost like they could go through a checklist, like, oh my gosh, maybe that's what I'm doing, so that they would maybe be able to recognize, like the slip and check, like recognize I'm slipping and then have the courage to go back? What would be some of those signs? Like pulling back from friends, was it they would invite you to go do things and you would say no? Was it, like what did that look like for you?
Okay, so for me, I think in the beginning, it was my friends would ask me to bring my son and come out and let's go on a play date. And my really close friends, for a long time, I continued to do that. But as my son got older, it got harder and harder because he wasn't tying consequences with actions and he wasn't doing things. So I'd go on a play date and I would leave like sweating, right? Because the whole time I'm trying to like monitor what he's doing to make sure he's safe and that the other kids are safe and that all this stuff's going on. So in the end, I think some of my friends pulled away from me because all of a sudden it wasn't easy to be around me. It was a little bit more chaotic and they had to work a little bit harder to be with me. But also I think for me, I felt like embarrassed. Like I can't even handle my son, because initially I didn't know that this wasn't typical behavior. A lot of my friends had daughters. And so I was like, oh, he's just a boy and he's just being like a boy. I don't know, and I pulled back from them. And in some ways I kind of blamed them. Like, this is your fault. Like you pulled away from me. You can't handle being with me and my son, and we're a package deal. And I kind of got defensive, and then other times, I would find myself just they would invite me to like a barbecue, let's say. And a lot of times Garrett was out of town during this period of time. His book had come out. So I did lots of things alone, and I would go to a party and I wouldn't even talk to any of the parents because the whole time I'm just trying to monitor him and make sure he's not, I hate to say it, but not making me look bad. I mean, I'm taking care of him because I want to keep him safe. But at the same time, the whole time I'm like, oh my gosh, everyone's going to think I'm the worst parent in the world. I can't even handle my son, And so that was kind of the first thing I think I did. I pulled back from my friends. And then I should have asked for help a lot earlier. Like I knew I was drowning. I was exhausted. And I should have talked to my husband more about it. But I felt like, this is my job. I am a stay-at-home parent. And I felt like I should be handling this. This is my role. He goes out, he works hard, he does all this stuff. And Garrett was a very involved parent when he was home. But it was like, I didn't want to tell him all the chaos, because then I'm not holding up my part of our relationship and what my deal is in our marriage. Right. I think I held back from him. I would say, something's amiss. It doesn't seem right. We would talk about it here and there, but I really didn't sit him down and be like, dude, I'm losing it. I don't know what's happening. I'm not able to give him what he needs. I didn't ask for help soon enough. And I wish that I would recognize that.
And if you can remember, was the habit of not asking for help, was there a thought like, it's going to get better, I'll just figure this out, like that kind of, or was it like, I don't even know what help to ask for? Do you remember back then, like what kept you from asking for help?
I think for him in particular, it wasn't like super obvious what was going on. I mean, he did have behavior stuff a little bit, but it wasn't like out of control. It was like, okay, so maybe he's just one of these wild little boys who doesn't want to listen, And I think that I felt like I can do this on my own. That's kind of been a theme for me in my life, right? Is I can do this on my own. I don't need any help. I'm a smart person. I can figure this out. And that's kind of a theme that I see that runs through a lot of part of my life, is that I'm going to do this on my own. I don't need you. I can figure it out. And I did. I asked my mom a little bit for help, but she gave me every resource she can, and we put him in speech and did those kinds of things. But honestly, this was kind of the new generation was having these issues. And she had taught school for a million years. And she's like, I've just never seen this. She didn't really have experience either to help me in parenting or in guiding him.
Right.
Yeah.
And I can imagine how it must have felt, because like you have 35 kids in your class and you got everyone under control, and now you own flesh and blood. And it's like, I'm totally at a loss here. So I can only imagine the pain in your heart and just like the frustration and the loneliness. It had to be so lonely.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was lonely for, I would say, well over a decade. I mean, luckily me and Garrett have good families who would reach out and be like, can I help? But once again, I didn't ask for it a lot. My dad and my mother-in-law helped a lot with watching my younger son while I took my older son to get therapies and stuff. So they were there and supportive, but outside of them, I didn't, and I was very lonely. It got to a point where I was like, I feel like I don't have any friends, even though I had people I could have called and they would have come and hung out with me and loved me and supported me. But I just felt like I'm a loser. I can't even do this. They have 3 kids and I can't even handle mine,
Right. Wow. I'm so glad that we're having this open conversation, because I mean, shamefully, I'm that one who looks at the wild child and I'm like, can't you get your child under control? And I'm thankful that I have now met so many moms and educators who are in that space, who are like, no, you don't understand. It's not that child is disobedient, or it's not that parent is bad. Like, there's a neurodevelopmental disorder. There's the wiring isn't the same. It'd be no different than seeing a child with a handicap, a physical handicap. We wouldn't like turn our nose up at them and have like ill feelings. And so I think that's one of the challenges with when they look fine.
Totally. I thought that all the time. And my son's super tall for his age.
Right. The gentle giant, right?
Yeah, he's like 6'2" at this age. But so when he's 2, he looks like he's 4, And even just little things like give a binky, people are like, can you take that away yet? And I'm like, first of all, he's 2. Second of all, it gives him a lot of comfort and it's none of your business. But I thought that very same thing. I said, you know what? If he looked handicapped, it would almost be easier, because then people understand that it's not all in our control.
Yeah.
I thought that for years. Not that I wanted that, but it was like, it would be easier if there was some way somebody could look at him and say, oh, it's neurological. But no, he looks normal, he walks normal, he talks normal, but he doesn't react in a typical way. So
right.
That was really hard when you're out in public. People are like staring at you. And that's when I feel like my ego started to just lay down, because I just had to sit there at a certain point and say, literally like a teacher, what's my objective here today? Okay, we're at the play park in the mall. What's my objective? My objective is for my son to be able to engage with these kids and have fun and be appropriate, not be butting in line or whatever it was. And I literally had to stop myself and be like, my objective today is this. I can't worry about what these other parents think of me. If they knew me, they would understand, but they don't. So forget it. I'm never going to see him again. And I really feel like my ego had to it was very humbling. Let's just say that to be in situations and be like, I'm the one who has no control, and I'm the one who everybody probably predicted would have this magical life, that everything's in the perfect spot or whatever.
Right. Yeah. Champagne and truffles only, right?
For sure. I'm sure people thought that.
Right. Yeah. Come spend a day with me. Let me show you my champagne and truffles, right?
Yeah. I remember once my brother left, and my brother loves my son and we're really close to him and stuff. And I remember my brother told me later, he's like, he came and stayed over for 4 or 5 days, and he was left, and he called me. He's like, I would talk to him on the phone and he would tell me, he's like, but seeing it for 5 days and not being able to walk away, being at your house without a car, he's like, that was really intense. I could really see what you're talking about,
Yeah. Just so So intense. So let's do this real quickly.
Okay.
How should we respond and react when we see a mom or a dad with their child that seem to be out of control? Because like, I don't even know. I don't really, like, do you offer to help? I mean, obviously you don't stare. Like, what do you do?
Okay, so if I see a mom, so this is a perfect example. I was walking out of a massage thing the other day, and there was a mom whose son clearly couldn't stand on his own. He had some sort of muscle disorder. And she was parked in the handicap parking spot, and there's a diaper bag, and she's digging through it, trying to find her keys while she's trying to like support this little boy and hold him up. Right. And it was clearly like hard to do, her bag. She's like tossing everything everywhere. And I just came up and I said, can I help you? Can I support him so that you can look through your bag? Or would you be okay if I grabbed your keys for you or whatever, you know? Right. And she was like, oh, thank you. And so I just held on to her little boy, you know, like under his armpits or whatever, and just so that she could really get in there and find her stuff. And then I helped her pack up her bag or whatever. And I just waited until she was ready to be able to put him into the car, right? So some people are really receptive to help. They're like, oh, yes, please, I need help right now. I can't do it. So some mothers I find, and I kind of have to judge, like I just kind of say, can I help you? And then some others will be like, no, I'm okay. But honestly, I feel like it's a relief to them that they feel like you're not judging them, that you just see that it's a tough situation.
Yeah.
Or like I see this a lot at the airport.
I was just going to say the airport.
Yeah, I see it a lot at airports because to travel with a son, my son doesn't have autism, but he had some of the similar symptoms. And I see this a lot with parents with autism, kids with autism, and they're trying to get their kid through security or whatever. And the only way they can keep them calm is to have them like on an iPad or something, right? Because it distracts them to get through the security and everything. And they have to take the iPad and of course put it through. But then you get on the other side, and sometimes these kids are having a really hard time or whatever. And in that situation, there's not really a lot you can do. The mom you can't interfere with a child with a neurological disorder because they'll be scared of you, right? Yeah. And so I try to, if there's any way I can help her subtly, you know, like maybe push her bags down closer to her or do little things like that. Or like, honestly, just to walk by and just smile with no judgment, just like give her like a, you're doing great kind of subtle smile. Yeah. Anything like that, I think makes her feel like, okay, people are seeing the truth of what's happening here and they're not.
Yeah. They get it.
Yeah.
You know, that was on, I don't remember what flight. It wasn't that long ago. And clearly this, you know, like this child had some neurological deficits, and my heart just broke for this mom who was trying to keep him contained and trying to just like do everything. And so I got up and walked back. I could hear it, and I had seen it before when I had walked back because I pee constantly on the airplane. And I just said, if you need a break to like go to the bathroom or do anything, I'm happy to sit here. And it was the same kind of thing. Like I couldn't, right? Like she couldn't leave him, but I think it was just kind of a relief to her of like what you just said, like, oh, everyone's not judging me.
Yeah. Everyone's understanding. Like I've really been on planes where parents of even just like twins, they're like leaving notes on the people around them. Hey, we've got twins, they cry a lot, and they'll leave like a treat, right? Which is so sweet. But at the same time, I think it's ridiculous that our society makes a parent feel like they have to try to compensate for the fact that their child is going to act like a child, right? Mm-hmm. Like this isn't even kids who have any struggles. It's just parents who have more going on than maybe they can handle in some moments because they've got two babies and it's one mom and there's no dad there or whatever. It's like, I think it's crazy that our society doesn't realize that kids have good days and bad days just like we do. And the mom doesn't always have control, and that can't we all just support her? You know, we've all been in a situation where we didn't have control, whether it was with kids or anything else. And you just got to tough it out. Like, too bad a kid's crying in your ear. Get over it. Right. Mom, I'm telling you, that mom is pouring sweat and she is having so much stress on her that, that your energy is making it more intense for the baby. Like we all know babies can sense that. So just chill out, like eat a snack or put on your headphones and
order another drink.
But that's the best thing you can do to help her, because that at least gives a relaxed vibe, and then her baby can chill out maybe or not and just get over it. That's life.
Right. It's short. Right. I mean, none of that stuff. I mean, in comparison to life, seriously, a couple hours on an airplane, like we can all live with it. We would pay to go to a concert and have people screaming in our ear.
Right. Well, it's like that mom doesn't want that. It's not like this mom's like, geez, I hope my baby cries the whole time. Because that's really fun for me. Like
Right.
that mom is doing her best. I can promise you she's pulled out every stop thing she never does at home just to try to remedy the situation. So it's like just let her be.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Just give a smile or a thumbs up or grab a bag. Like I'm amazed how many times a mother is trying to struggle through a door with 70 bags. And then someone walks through. I'm like, are you flipping kidding me? Hold the door for her or, you know, like whatever, grab a stroller and give a push or, I mean,
I've taught my kids like, you know, like I know we're not supposed to teach our boys to be gentlemen anymore, I guess. I don't know. But I teach my kids, like, I don't care if it's a mom, a regular, you know, a grown man, whatever, like it's courtesy to open a door. But if you see a mom who's like, even if she's got it all handled, she's trying to open the door, it's tough to open a door, hold it and push your baby through. Like it's a lot easier if someone just helps you with the door. It's a simple thing that takes no effort.
Oh yeah. And you know, how good does it feel?
Yeah, I mean, it's just like that made my life so much easier. It was just a really small thing, but it really shows anybody, whether it's a regular person, an old person, that there's people out there who are noticing that others are existing and that we can all live together, right?
Yes. And you know, I encourage all of you, when you see a child doing this, acknowledge them. Like I had a little boy hold the door. He had this big 10-gallon hat on. He was so cute. And I just said, it's great to see that you're a gentleman. And he tipped his head and said, thanks, ma'am. But totally encouragement to him, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Huge.
Yeah, it encourages them that matters, that's a good thing to carry on into this next generation, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. So I know that we're like going way over in these last few minutes. Let's talk about like how the fear element, how did you push through and how was fear holding you back?
You know, I think in my particular situation, I think at first you don't acknowledge it as fear. I mean, you do in some ways, like you fear, like, what's their future going to be like? What's going to happen in their life? That kind of fear is obvious. But one thing that was like, I'm a big meditator and it kind of came through in a meditation for me that when my son freaks out, right? So whether we're at home or we're out in public, anything, he freaks out in a way that is not typical, right? Like I go into this fear and it's totally unconscious of, oh my gosh, what if he does this the rest of his life? And you envision how if he does this one action all the time, he's not going to have any friends. He'll never find someone to have a life with. He'll never blah, 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 blah. And you project that totally into their future, right? Unconsciously, completely. I wasn't even aware. And one day it dawned on me that when my son freaks out, I'm not frustrated because he's having a freak out and he's yelling or whatever he's doing. That's not really the frustrating thing, right? The frustrating, the thing that makes me react is because I'm scared. I'm scared what this means for him and what this means, like what's happening inside of him that I don't have control over. And that was the fear. So the first step is just acknowledging that right now I'm upset because this scares me. I don't know what this means. All of a sudden he has a face tick. What does that mean? All of a sudden I'm afraid and it made me edgy kind of, you know, like you're reacting kind of out of that fear. So I had to sit back and I had to just kind of say, like I really had to sit down and just kind of walk through my fear and be like, okay, so if he does this the rest of his life, which isn't really likely, honestly, but if he does it the rest of his life, what does that really mean in real truth? Okay, so he has a face tick. That will pose challenges for sure. There will be people who will make fun of him possibly, or maybe not. And you just go through the whole thing and you come to the point where you're like, I can handle that. Like we can handle that. I can prepare him for that.
Right.
You know? And so it was just stepping back, acknowledging that I'm reacting out of my fear in this situation where I thought, oh, I'm reacting because he's screaming. No, I'm not. I'm reacting because that screaming scares me because what does that mean for his future?
Right.
Yeah. I mean, and you just go totally into that. And so I think for me, it was like sitting down and things that really scared me and coming to the conclusion that I can handle that. And so can he. we can work together.
Yeah.
Or I can search and find a solution. Great, that popped up. That's another symptom that gives me more clues into what's going on in his life and what's amiss that I need to support or whatever. And so I think even just acknowledging that and coming at it from that point of view, and if I was frustrated, sitting down. And another thing I did that someone told me was you take 5. This is somebody who just had little kids, right? This works for everybody. And I did it also with myself. When you're getting frustrated or they're ready to pop or whatever, you sit down and same thing. What's my objective here? Okay, my objective is to love and support my child and get to the bottom of why they're upset, right? So sit down and say, I've got 5 minutes. If I'm late, oh, well, my child, our relationship is more important than me showing up on time for church or whatever, right? So you just sit down, and it's hard sometimes because you're in a hurry. That's usually when it happens. You sit down and you say, okay, it's okay, you're okay. And you kind of calm them down and then talk to them the best you can. But if nothing else, they feel your peace because now you're not rushed or you're not upset. And then it just helps the situation. Just take that 5 minutes, talk to them, cuddle them if they can't talk, and just be like, this is my priority. This is my objective. And do this with him.
Right. I love that distinction between like just acknowledging I'm afraid. I remember and my kids didn't have neurological problems, but being a single mom when they were really young and their dad wasn't a part of their life, I felt like a major failure too, in a different way. And I can remember, like, as soon as you said that, I kind of got goosebumps of like something would happen. I'd be like, oh my gosh, this is going to impact them forever. And like, how do I change it? And what do I do? And then, just like getting hyper about the situation versus just like, okay, let's sit back. Is this, and so now I've developed, is it fact or fiction? Right? Like, is it a fact or are these my feelings? And not that my feelings aren't valid, but like, what are we dealing with here? And I think just that pause, like just press pause for a minute, and see what comes out of that. So I really appreciate that of just taking ownership of what our emotions are so that we can best serve our children. So it's 8:15 and I promised you it'd be 15 minutes and now it's 30. So as we wrap this up, what words of encouragement do you have for those who are watching? And I am going to give a shameless plug to these kind of conversations are what are going to happen at the Women's Chiropractic Leadership Summit. It's not going to be a speaker at the front of the room just like talking at you. It will be a dialogue because that's how we learn. That's how we grow. I don't have all the answers and Carrie doesn't have all the answers and none of the other speakers have all the answers. But together, that's when the magic happens, right? That's when the growth happens. That's when we really empower each other. And that's when friendships that last a lifetime are developed. So as we close out today, what words of encouragement do you have for the women and men who are watching?
My grandma used to just always casually say, don't worry, things will work out. And I was like, but you don't understand, but honestly, for whatever reason, things that are intense that seem like this is going to go on forever. My experience is I can't think of anything in my life that went on forever like that, right? You either adjust and it just becomes a normal part of your life or you find solutions for that, right? But what I would say is don't feel alone. Like find somebody that you can talk to real honestly, whether that's screaming and saying shamefully embarrassing thoughts that you have in your head that you think people will hate you for. Find somebody that you can tell that to, whether that's a therapist or your mom or your friend, whatever. Whoever that is, find someone who you can be completely honest with and vulnerable with. And also realize that, we all say this, the things in our life are there to teach us a lesson, right? And the thing in front of you is the biggest lesson that you need to learn. And it's going to get louder and louder until you sit back and you say, what is this trying to show me about myself? Do I have control issues? Do I have ego issues? Do I have whatever it is? And think about that and start coming at it from that perspective. And like I said before, just realize this won't last forever. There's nothing in my life that has lasted forever. No matter how wonderful or terrible it was, it's
Yeah.
only temporary. And temporary can be a decade, but the things that occur in that decade change all the time. So just realize that it truly is just a phase in your life.
Yeah. And I love your even if this is what endures, we can figure it out. Even if it doesn't get better, we can adjust. We can make the necessary changes to live with this thing or this condition or whatever it happens to be. Like, we'll figure it out. It won't be chaotic forever.
Yeah, it won't be. You'll find solutions. And one thing that really comforted me is like, God, the world is changing so fast. We all know with technology, right? And a lot of these things with kids, we are getting to the bottom of, and with anything, with aging and all the things that we're afraid of as we age, right? Like, there's so many breakthroughs that just keep searching for that and search. And this is one thing I did, is I was always trying to find the solution based out of fear, or I need to do this because I'm his mom. You know what I mean? I'm the only one. And when I switched to being like, the real reason I'm truly doing this is because I love my son and I want him to have a fulfilled life, and when I really got to the bottom of that, it changed the way I looked at everything. I wasn't taking him to his appointments because I felt like I had to go or things were going to get worse and I couldn't handle that. It was like when I really sat down and thought about it, I'm like, I'm doing this because I love him. And this is hard and it's time consuming and it's not what I necessarily would have chosen. But if I can do this, realizing that I'm taking him to this place that's really far away and costs a lot of money because I love him, then that changes the whole energy of what happens when he's there. And things really started to change when I was able to do that.
Yeah, I think see the longer purpose of it than just, like the answer for right now. Like, what, again, like what you had just said, what is this teaching me?
Yeah.
What am I supposed to learn in this moment, whether it's for me and it's for Breck or it's for all of us, or who, like whatever it's supposed to be for. And I think so many times in our life too is you'll learn a lesson now, and then like the fruit of that lesson shows up later, right? Like,
for sure.
You look back and you're like, I learned it then, but now I'm able to share it with somebody else, or now is when it's really making an impact in my life or somebody else's impact. So, Carrie, thank you so much for this conversation. Every time I talk to you, I'm so grateful. So thank you. And to all of you, please drop your comments below if you are in a similar situation, or I'm 100% confident that this interview will help someone that you know. So please take 15 seconds and click share and share it. There may be a mom or a dad or even another adult who's struggling. And just because you take that 15 seconds, you can make an impact in their life. So please do so. And Carrie, have a wonderful day.
You too. Thank you.
God bless you all. Have a great day. See ya.